Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna tell you, I think you're on mute.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Good. All right. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
Good. We're all, like more than halfway done with this class. It goes fast. I like the 4-week class. Seems to keep people interest better, I think. But what I want to do is to start off today is I'm going to take whatever questions you have, and then I'm going to talk about some ways to differentiate instruction, some sites that will help you, and then I'm going to talk about some of the challenges associated with full inclusion. So I want to start with your questions.
How exactly do you want the discussion? Like, what exactly do we do for that? Can you go over the discussion just a little bit, please?
Are you talking about the What Works Clearinghouse? Are you talking about the What Works Clearinghouse?
Yes.
Oh, well, I just wanted you to find an intervention and tell us about it. So, okay. For example, let me see if I can get there fairly easily. Okay. What? You know, the whole world is on this internet right now. Hang on a second. The Wheel of Death. What? There we go. So the What Works Clearinghouse, and you're going to find an intervention. So let's say you want to do one for math, for example. And so you click on math, and let's say that give you more filters. Let's say you're interested in 2nd grade math, and so let's take a look at 2nd grade math. And so we got these things here, and you're going to look for a good program. So let's say you wanted to do peer assisted learning strategies, and you look at it, and you notice that, oh, it's got 2 pluses right here. Alphabetics, well, that's a reading strategy, but that's not math. But you want to look for these 2 pluses, and then you're just going to, for example, you know, you can click on, let's see, any of the studies, and you're going to look at it, see how it works, and tell us about it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, who asked that question?
Hannah Minky.
Oh, hi, Anna. Okay, good work on your assignments, Hannah. Okay, who else has a question? Don't be shy.
Do you want that discussion to be 5 minutes or more long, or is that just
no,
like?
I want it to be 5 minutes or less.
Okay.
Remember, I don't have my attention span is short. No, you know, you really want to be powerful. You don't want it to be long. That's just my opinion. You'll notice I'll never make a video more than like 5 or 10 minutes. Other questions? How you doing, Tyga?
I'm good.
Good. I'm just trying to relate to everybody like a good professor. And let me see here if anybody else is. Rihanna, are you all right?
Yep, doing good.
All right. So should I get to what I'm going to, I want to show you a couple of things. Now, first of all, remember I told you that if you're an average if you teach an average 5th grade classroom, you got 10 years of span to cover with your students. You got high readers who are like 10th grade readers, and then you got beginning readers. And how are you going to cover all that? You can't cover all that. You have to differentiate instruction, but you can't come up with every lesson by yourself. So there's a lot of websites out there. There's a lot of technology out there for you to access to find appropriate level materials for your students. It used to be that principals thought that it was a bad idea for a 5th grade teacher to teach 4th grade or 6th grade stuff. But most people have evolved and realized that we need to differentiate. Here's a site that has all the different, has lessons for all different math, English language arts, and science and social studies for pre-K all the way to 12th grade. So if you're a 6th grade teacher interested in science, for example, I just click on that. My goodness, look at all these lessons all these objectives that have lessons attached to them. So it's really, that's a site that's available to you. And another one is Internet for Classrooms that have all the different, let's see here, subjects, like if you go to elementary subjects, let me just click on that. Here's some language arts activities. Oh, for all these different grade levels. Let's look at 2nd grade, for example. Oh, and look at all these printables. I'm just trying to show you that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's some good stuff out there. So while it's really a burden on teachers now that to differentiate, it's what's become good teaching, and it's a good practice, and it allows people, allows students to be able to access the material at their level and progress forward. You can't start a kid, a non-reader, in a 2nd grade book. It doesn't work. So, any questions on differentiating instruction and that idea that I just presented? You guys really challenged me, you know. I'm just kidding. So anyway, let me get on to, I have a PowerPoint I want to share with you on implementing inclusion and some of the challenges associated with that. Basically, and by the way, I got this template out of Presenter Media, and it's, I hope, I don't know why it just clicked by itself. But so anyway, it is, to me, it's very difficult to implement a fully inclusive classroom. But if you do it right, it's the best thing for everybody. But doing it right is a challenge. It's a trend right now, just like a lot of trends. Everybody wants to do that. It was a trend years ago to swallow goldfish too, but never mind that. You know, my fear is that many kids get ignored in what's called a fully inclusive classroom. And another thing is, we don't really have really good research to know how the other students, the ones that without disabilities, are affected academically in that kind of a room. Excuse me. Well, we know that people do gain socially, both excuse me, individuals with disabilities and individuals without disabilities. We gain socially, but academically, we don't know that for sure. Remember, I told you that there's a tension between full inclusion and least restrictive environment. And that a school district needs to offer all of these possible placements for students We don't all go in a full-time inclusion unless it's warranted. This is where inclusion would exist. But what about these kids who might need more? And when you meet their needs, the further disabled they are, the more it takes to meet their needs in a fully inclusive classroom. You know, people talk about a stigma of being in a special ed room, or a stigma of being pulled out to another room. But what about the stigma of having somebody sitting right next to you in the room? Maybe there's a stigma there too. It's hard to research inclusion because every model is a little bit different. And when you ask people, oh, are you in favor of inclusion? They might say, oh yeah, it's a wonderful thing to do. But sometimes we say, you know, socially acceptable answers. Again, the practice of inclusion varies greatly from one school to another. Not special ed law, but how inclusion is implemented varies greatly. You know, if it's not done right, children with disabilities can't achieve if they don't have the right methods. And what about gifted students? What are they going to do in a fully inclusive room when their needs are not being met? And I ran a pull-out program for 20 years in Los Angeles. Resource rooms are often misjudged because we have less students. But many students learn to read in my room. So I think they're often misjudged. Perhaps that's my bias. So, you know, and when we take a look at who likes to implement inclusion, the ones who are implementing it don't like it quite as much as the ones who aren't doing it, like administrators. And yeah, we want to include children maybe of a certain disability. Well, what about emotionally disturbed, behavior disordered children? Do we want them in there? You know, we're more accepting of physical challenges than behavior challenges. And it really does, it is telling that the further one is from a classroom, like an administrator or a school board, the more they like inclusion. So I don't know about that. But again, this is my opinion. So, and another thing, what about high stakes testing? How, you know, are teachers being judged for the scores of their students, not for the growth of their students? And are schools giving teachers enough time to plan, not just grade level planning? Because if you teach third grade and you're differentiated, you need to be involved with all that content planning, K through 5, if you're elementary. It seems that students who are LD don't do as well in inclusion. And that's the highest percentage of students in special ed. And co-teaching takes time and training to implement. And people need to get along with their co-teaching partners. You know, we need to know more than just our grade level. We need to have, that's why I tried to show you some sites that have other grade levels. And remember that many classrooms don't do a good job of differentiating instruction. We have to have flexible grouping. You shouldn't be in the same reading group as your math group or your writing group, for example. That's all a part of a good, fully inclusive classroom. There are social benefits, of course. And choice is good for students. And good teachers do these things. So there are some really great aspects of a fully inclusive classroom. Really good things about it. So we don't want to just say it's not a good idea. It is a good idea. But remember, it's an individualized decision. And you need an administrator, progressive, that treats teachers respect, gets input from faculty, that's supportive of inclusion, not just dictating. They don't have that right to dictate. We are teachers. We have, we are professionals. We need time. We need planning time. And if we don't buy into it, it's not going to work. My idea that what we really need is responsible inclusion, including those that we can do a good job with and finding other placements for those that we can't. We need, to praise people for their collaborative work. Teachers need to be praised. Staff development is very important. Schools need to be flexible. Sometimes children need to be in more than one room in a day, even if it's a fully inclusive room, but maybe we need to share kids more. A teacher needs to be intrinsically motivated to implement full inclusion. They can't just be told to do it. And it's, again, an individualized decision. Your LRE, your least restricted environment, is not the same for all subjects. Sometimes we differentiate up, sometimes we differentiate down. So, questions? Did anybody does anyone have any questions about what I just said? Any ideas? Does anybody want to argue with me?
No, I think you had good ideas that you all shared, so that was good.
Okay, who is that? Britley?
Hannah, again.
Okay, Hannah. Well, before I let everybody go, is there anything else that you would like to talk about? Anything that I've missed, or any questions you might have? We're going to have one more session. I haven't quite decided. Well, it might just be just to say goodbye or talk about the final type thing. The course is going to close a week from Friday. But if you need that weekend, I don't think that would be a problem either. I'm here for you. It is COVID. And it still is COVID, by the way. Despite what you might hear out there, be safe and take care of grandma. Anybody else have anything to say? How about good night, Dr. K?
Good night.
See you guys later. Take care.
Good night.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.